So, ladies and gentlemen, this is take probably 12 or 13. I have tried to cover this topic appropriately, tried to just sort of stick to the facts, and every time it's sort of derailed when we get to some of the clips in the video, because this is just so completely indicative and revealing of this left wing woke orthodoxy and ideology. It is a godless, evil way of viewing the world and interacting with your fellow man. And so what we're talking about today is this story right here. Now Asmongold covered it, which I commend Asmongold for covering this. And like most things, he acts like a newborn baby. Like, oh, this is brand new. I've never heard of this. Isn't this so crazy? But for people like me, we have heard about the push by these left wing woke activists into schools and libraries for a while. And we see things like Drag Story Hour for kids and all this other stuff, and we reject it in its entirety because we're sane, functioning human beings. Me, I have a religious basis for my outrage at this. This is profoundly inappropriate. Children should be protected from the predators of the world, from the people who have embraced demonic ideology. Now, I know what the line is going to be. There's going to be some line about Catholic priests. And here's the deal with that. Because it is the church and you have people who wanted to discredit the church, they would go on and on about how this is such a huge problem within the church. And it is. One is too many times. However, because they had a motivation, sort of like the thing with George Floyd, I think that's the best example recently we can look at, where you saw the details. And the details did not match up with the people who wanted to concoct a narrative, what they were trying to sell. Which is why, looking back, there are a lot of people that think that Derek Chauvin is a political prisoner, and that really his only crime is that he went into work on a day that he was supposed to be off. This is something that I think really requires people to be honest about the fact that the church and the faith are the only real counter to this. That you bring back God into the classroom, you bring back Christianity, and you allow kids to experience an epistemological, if I can speak, framework around their life having to do with God. Some people won't agree with that. In fact, I get many people saying, hey, you should probably cut it out with the God talk. I agree with you. I like your channel. You could probably go much further if you do what all these other channels do. Like the Critical Drinker doesn't talk about God. The Quartering doesn't talk about God. Tim Pool doesn't really talk about God. All these successful channels, like Joe Rogan, they don't talk about God. I like your content, but maybe cut that stuff out. Well, I guess then I'm going to have to, be condemned to be a smaller channel because that's never going to happen. What I think the solution to this sort of stuff is, and we're going to watch a bit of the video, but the solution is a framework and foundation under the teachings of the Bible, which has moral frameworks built into it that say that if something like this happens, it's incumbent on the community to step forward. Not just relegating everything to the government, but the church and the community come together to deal with this. The church and the community come together to put a stop to this. And I think that is the best way to do it. Because you apparently have a bunch of kids who have been bitten. They've been exposed to this type of stuff where they have to protest on an entire day, where they could be quote unquote learning. I don't know how good this school is. Apparently not very good, given that they are affirming and allowing this sort of stuff to happen. But some of the commentary that you're going to listen to in this, I don't think many of you are ready for. So I hope you sit down. And by the way, my message is very simple. I do this as a hobby. I'm never going to be a big channel. So I'm never going to change my style. I'm never going to alter that. Christ is king. Forever may he reign. It's never going to deviate from that. So if you're hoping for that, oh boy, you're going to be disappointed.
What kind of animal costumes are they wearing?
Cats, dogs, foxes,
Like,
anything.
what do you mean, like a full-on bodysuit or what?
They're like tails, ears. It's very sexual and inappropriate. They're wearing butt plug tails.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I talk about wokeness and I talk about the far left and I speak about them in the way that I do, and some people will say, you're a little bit abrasive. One of the reasons why is because a lot of people don't know about the severity of the problem. They're under the delusion that people on the left are just misguided. They just don't have all the information. No, they have the information that they need, and they don't care about the rest. And they are willing to engage in every sort of degeneracy and perversion and debasement because it's all about hedonism. It's all about the worship of self. It's all about this mentality that says, I am the most important thing on this planet. Which is why these people are happy to go into hobbies that they had nothing to do with, that they don't care about, like Warhammer, and change everything to suit them. They are not going to ever get into Warhammer. They just like that they ruin something for people that they detest. And the reason they detest people who disagree with them is because the people who disagree with them are people like me, shining a light onto what an absolute demon they are. They don't like that. Demons don't like it when you put a spotlight on them. They hate it. They recoil from the light. And unfortunately, this is what happens. Is that these people decide to engage in this stuff, promote this stuff. Hey, it's okay at a middle school if these kids are coming and doing this stuff. And by the way, in this video from Asman, he talks about, the kids sharing their experience. The kids are, they've been bitten, scratched. These people come to school in leashes with collars. And all of this is born of the left-wing, debased, self-worshipping, fetishistic ideology, which is a breakdown of civil society and a complete and total rejection of God and Jesus Christ and the faith. And I think the only reasonable counter to that is by embracing the faith again, by bringing church and religion back into school, by bringing it back into government, which, by the way, the separation of church and state is ridiculous. It doesn't actually exist. The only thing that the Constitution says is that the state should not create its own religion, talking about a theocracy wherein you had the church and the state that were basically one. But it doesn't mean that you can't be outspokenly Christian in the role of presidency and talk about God and talk about faith and implement things from that perspective. It's just it can't be officially from the church. This is a misconception by people. Oh, you can't have Bible in school. No, that is absolutely false. And so I think that what we need to do is we need to become more religiously extreme. We need to become more fervent in our declaration that Christ is King.
What are they? Is he going to ask him anything?
Yeah.
I will not comply.
What are you not complying
Based kids.
with? Okay.
We just want to learn.
No furries?
Well, that's not true.
Somebody was telling me that the furries were attacking you guys in class. Is that right?
Yeah, they bite kids. They bite people. They will bite ankles.
How do they bite your ankle? Why would they?
They walk on all fours, run down the hall. They scratch people. They'll sniff your shoes and then bite you. They scratch people. They bite people. And one kid got bit and then he kicked the furry and then he got suspended. They won't stop biting at us. Yeah.
Wait. Did it say that one kid kicked the furry when it was biting him and the kid got suspended?
They scratch people, they bite people, and one kid got bit and then he kicked the furry and then he got suspended. They won't stop.
Yeah, it's animal abuse. True, yeah, that's fucked up.
We're not allowed to wear masks on Halloween, but then they wear masks every day.
So you can't wear a mask on Halloween?
No, we can't wear masks on Halloween, but they can wear masks every day. It's not
So
fair.
are they wearing a mask every day?
Yes. But every time they go, they're always just wearing a mask. But the principal finally stood up and banned those stuff. But they still wear them every day. And they don't get in trouble. The principal doesn't make them get in trouble. Yeah. All the principal says is just be kind, be nice, be nice. And then
What's the point of dressing up like a furry?
it's just I don't know.
Thank God they don't know.
They think they're so cool that they want to get a lot of attention. I think they want attention. So people can come at them and just look at them and think that they're so cool.
Okay.
Also,
Are you guys going to?
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain what happens as a result of this. You have a bunch of either negligent or perverted adults that are not taking their responsibility seriously. They're allowing stuff like this to happen. Now, let me ask you something. These people growing up, do you think they're going to be more liberal, more open-minded, more, hey, live and let live? Or do you think that they and their future children are going to be more right-leaning? Do you think that they're going to remember this in years? Absolutely. These are their school years. I remember when I'm in middle school, but there were certain events in middle school that I remember that happened that I still to this day can remember, but I never had to experience anything like this where other people are biting me and acting in this way attached to what they're going to eventually learn is unfortunately a sexual perversion and a kink from the far left that is being accepted. This whole tolerant mindset, whether you want to view it as a left-right paradigm, they are going to be more radical. They are going to be more extreme in snuffing this stuff out. You combine that with the fact that a lot of these people are not going to have kids. Not these people, but the people who are on the left who think, oh, there's too many humans, I'm not going to have a kid. You know, like Seth Rogen and his wife, oh, yeah, we're like 45 and we're naked smoking weed. There is a push from the left not to have kids. So eventually, this ideology, sooner or later, whether it's the long road or it's the short road, is going to end. That's why they're going after kids in this way. But for every kid that they go after, for every person that they think that they can convert, they're converting a lot more against them. And I think all it takes is a couple people in positions of power, and the pendulum is going to swing way back in the other direction. And it's going to be interesting, because I'm already seeing stories about them banning pride flags, banning BLM flags in school, and saying You have to have the 10 Commandments displayed in the classroom. I'm actually seeing this. And, I mean, yeah, more and more, I think we're going to see stuff like this. And more, I think people are going to have enough. And if you want to know, you may think this is a bit radical, but let me just explain. The reason why we punish people who do this, even if you want to put the Bible out of it, which I don't think you should, but even if you do, one of the reasons why we suspend kids for dressing up as an animal, coming in and biting people, it should be for the act in and of itself. But there's another reason. Because a society is filled with people. And I guarantee you, the parents of these kids, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy that this is happening. Let me tell you how it would happen in the old day. The parents would get together and say, hey, these kids are a menace. They're a problem. So they would all go to their house and they'd knock on the door and they'd say, hey, look, this is happening. This is going on. We're going to deal with it as a community, or we're going to deal with it as a community. They would deal with it as a community for better or for worse. Now, the state steps in and says, okay, no, we can't do that. We're going to be the arbiter. We're going to be the representation of law and order. Well, if they don't do their job, if these law enforcement departments, if these courthouses, if they don't do it, guess what's coming back? If you think people are just going to meekly accept the indoctrination or transing or sexualizing of their kids, you got another thing coming. People are unaware of this, but the moment that they are, you need to be aware of what's coming. We're talking like vigilante frontier justice. You're going to see a lot more of that if you don't start prosecuting and don't start doing your job. Because the moment that people feel like they can't turn to law enforcement, they can't turn to the court system, they can't turn to the mechanism of power to deliver justice, they're going to deliver their own justice, consequences be damned, and you know what? You're going to have communities that are born from this. Communities that come together in recognizing that the system has failed them, and they're going to vote in their own people. And I tell you this as a warning, because I think that a civil society and cohesion is good. But if you're saying, hey, just be nice to these furries, and people are apparently trusting the system, and then it fails, and you don't get these kids out, you don't ban them, the more and more stories build up, it's going to be an inevitability that the pendulum is going to swing, and you're not going to like the result. I say this as a caution, as a warning. Not for me personally. I mean, what can I do in some rural town or some small town? No, I'm saying this as a warning so that you understand that this is how humans have operated since the beginning of time. That when you remove the feeling of safety, when you remove the feeling of we are being listened to, we're being respected, the laws are being enforced equally, when you remove that, I mean, look, when you remove that, it engenders something in people, and you're not going to like the result. And that's not a threat, that's a promise. So for the sake of civilization, the correct thing to do is to prosecute any principle, any person that is affirming this, to fire them, get them out of there, remove them, Remove anyone on the school board. The mayor should come in and say the entire school board is fired. The principal is fired. Get out. And if you try to fight this, we're going to take you to court. It should be almost instantaneous that this stuff happens. And then you put people in a position to protect the kids. And you get these kids who think that they're furries, you kick them out of school. You expel them. Oh, you bit a kid? Really? You're gone. Well, you're coming to school wearing a butt plug tail? You're gone. May seem harsh to some people, but it's preferable to the alternative. Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, I definitely recommend you go watch this video from Asmongold TV called Furry Infestation in Middle School. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.